Welcome to Rich on the Road Across America.
Good morning, everyone. I realize it may not be morning where you're at, but this is Rich, getting ready to leave Nashville and headed toward Franklin, Illinois to Waverly Lake Campground. This is the beginning of a trip to the Driftless, which is an area in Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. It's in that tri-state area. Evidently, it's an area where the glaciers came down and kind of split and went around this area. It's a national park, so we're going to take a look and see what the topography of the land is there. It's about 415 miles from where I'm at, 425, something like that, 450, something. This is the real test for the California trip, so we'll see how this goes. We're going to spend a day in each city, set up a tent, spend the night, tear down a tent, take off and do 300 or 400 miles, set up a tent, tear down a tent, drive 300 or 400 miles. So we'll see how this trip goes. Rose is not going again. This is a solo trip, and that's kind of got me a little bit nervous. I got to be honest with you. Don't have definite plans. Waverly Lake is the destination today, but I may not make it. I may have to find another campground. And for the whole week, I've got a few campgrounds mapped out, planned out, but we may have to change those plans. And that's, again, testing ground for going out west. We may not always have a set place to go, and we're going to play it by ear. Find a campground, find a site, do some dispersed camping, things like that. Wish me luck. We're going to try it out today and heading toward Illinois. So let's go. It's Rich, and I made it to Waverly Lake in Franklin, Illinois. There's my motorcycle and trailer. We made it here just fine. Beautiful lake area. I mean, this is beautiful. Just 5 minutes ago, there was a bald eagle flying right over there. And right behind me is the tent, and it's right on the water. I mean, the front corner of the tent is about a foot from the water. The water has a good little border. It's hard to point backwards. I'm not a weatherman. It has a good little border right here that I'm not worried about water coming up to the tent. But the corner is about a foot from the tent. I step out the door on the other side, and I've got 2 feet before I step into the water. So that's nice. And I saw a snake. About 5 feet from the tent a second ago too. But called my wife. She didn't like that. But I told her I'm in the snake's area. He's not in my area. He's not invading me. I'm invading him. So that's fine. Snakes don't bother me. It took me 8.5 hours to get about 425 miles from home to here. That's with gas stops, walking a little bit because I get kind of stiff on the motorcycle. And then getting here, setting up the tent, and I mean, everything's set up. I'm unpacked, set up, my bed's made, everything. So 8.5 hours, 420 miles, gas, walking, and total setup and ready to sit down and enjoy the view here. Really nice trip, really pretty trip. Went through the farmland in Kentucky and Illinois, and you've got some video of that. It was pretty cool. Coming back into Waverly Lake, I passed a large windmill farm. And I'm talking, I know for you people out in the Midwest or out in the West, it's not a big one, but for here, 15, 20 big windmills on the road coming back to Waverly Lake. That was kind of cool and different for me. Maybe normal in your neck of the woods, but it's not normal in my neck of the woods. So anyway, I am going to fix me something to eat. I haven't had anything to eat since last night. I woke up this morning and left. Then I'm going to sit here and enjoy the scenery. Well, good morning. How was your morning? I doubt it was as pretty as that is. While you were watching the sunrise, I was making breakfast. I have some eggs and bacon and some coffee. Getting ready to start the day. I've already torn the tent down, packed everything up. It's ready. As soon as I wash dishes, we're going to head out and go toward the Driftless, which is in Iowa. It's a state park, wildlife refuge. What I heard was that as the glaciers came down from the north during the Ice Age, that for some reason the glaciers split and went around this area. And it's like everything else is that flat land that you're used to seeing in the Midwest, all the farmland. And this supposedly is natural land, you know, hills and mountains and gorges and rivers and stuff like that. So we'll find out when we get there. So right now we're gonna eat, and then we're gonna hop on the bike and take off another 300 something miles or something like that. Hope you've had a good day so far. I certainly have, and I hope the rest of the day is just as good. After spending all day of seeing nothing but rolling hills of corn, all of a sudden, I'm in the hill country. This is like being back in Tennessee. What a beautiful sight that is. So evidently, like I said, the glaciers went around this, and what I've driven through last 5 miles has been nothing but woods and hills and rocky cliffs and everything else. So really a pretty area, really a pretty area. Well, we made it. I left Waverly City Lake this morning in Franklin, Illinois. Drove about 350 miles, and I'm now at Pikes Peak, Iowa. It's a state park, really pretty area, which all state parks are. I have a motorcycle and trailer, and my tent, picnic table. I'm making a turkey, cheese, and mustard wrap right now. There's a parking lot with RV campsites across the road over here. What I'm in is a scout area. It's supposed to house up to 50 kids, but they allowed me to have this site myself. There's no one reserving it. So I've got this whole area to myself. Pikes Peak is part of the Driftless area that we talked about earlier. You know, I drove 350 miles in nothing but cornfields of Iowa, non-stop cornfields. And that's not a slight at all, Iowa. Nothing but cornfields, just cornfield after cornfield after cornfield after cornfield. Pretty and beautiful, but nothing but cornfields. And then all of a sudden hit the mountains of Tennessee, which I'm used to. So that's what the Driftless area is mountain areas. We're I'm going to walk down in a little bit to the parking lot area, to the overlook, the scenic overlook for Pikes Peak, and I'll take you along with me. It overlooks the Mississippi and looks straight over into Wisconsin. I'm gonna sit down, have my meal, and then we'll go down to the overlook and we'll talk about that then. Lieutenant Zebulon Pike, what a name, Zebulon. Founded this area. He came from the Wisconsin side, moving west over into Iowa, and discovered this area. Of course, that's a white settler discovering something that the Indians knew about many years before that, but that's another whole story. Lieutenant Zebulon Pike. That's where Pikes Peak gets its name. Good morning. It's about 7:30. I've already torn down the tent site, packed everything up. I'm on the bike, ready to head out of Pikes Peak and heading in toward Wisconsin. I'm not sure if I'm gonna stay in Milwaukee or if I'm going to go into or down south a little further to Chicago. Not really sure, playing the day by ear. We'll just see what happens. It's a beautiful day. The sunrise is right behind me. Blue skies, white clouds. So I am ready to hit the road. Let's go, guys. I'm in Milwaukee. That's Milwaukee behind me. And this is Lake Michigan. This is the U.S. Coast Guard Museum. There is I get to it, point it, a lighthouse out here somewhere. I think that's it right there. And then there's an opening way over here. That's the port that lets you out into Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan, one of the Great Lakes in the Northeast. Chicago is right down the road, and this is Milwaukee. You can't go to Wisconsin without getting cheese curds. And you can't get cheese curds unless you come to the Cheese Castle. I'm just south of Milwaukee. I went to the House of Harley, even though I'm on a Honda Davidson. I also went to the Harley headquarters. I took a picture, that's all I did. I didn't do a video or anything like that at the Harley headquarters. And when I was at the Harley dealership, I asked about cheese curds, and the woman there said, you gotta come to the Cheese Castle. So I am now at the Cheese Castle and getting ready to eat some curds. At the Cheese Castle, they've got a restaurant, seating area, there's a bakery and fudge, wine, cheese. And cheese, 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 and more cheese. I asked the guy at the register what I should get. He said, get the chocolate cheese. Never heard of it before. Went back there and they let me try both of them. There's two different types. One tastes like a fudgesicle kind of. It's a Havarti-based cheese with chocolate in it. And this one is, a cheddar chocolate, and it tastes kind of like brownie batter. Really good. Mars Cheese Castle, curds squeaking on my teeth. Delicious. I'm at the Chain of Lakes State Park in Illinois, about 60 miles from Chicago. Got the tent set up, already made dinner tonight. Getting ready to sit down and watch a movie and then go to bed. Then wake up tomorrow and head out toward Chicago, do a few things in Chicago, and then plan is to run on into Indianapolis from there. So we'll see what happens there. I'll see you guys in the morning. Well, good morning. It's about 7 a.m. at the Chain of Lakes State Park. It's pretty. The valley over there, sunrise right there. Getting ready to leave. We're going to head towards Chicago. 65 miles or something like that, 60 something miles from here. We're going to drive through Chicago, see a few sights, but nothing much, and then head on over toward Indianapolis. That's the plan for sleeping tonight, is in Indianapolis somewhere. So let's get on the road and get moving. See ya. So I was going to go to Chicago, but for the last 6 miles before Chicago, just north of Chicago, it took me an hour and a half to travel 6 miles. I got off into Chicago and it was just traffic everywhere, nowhere to park. I just had enough, so I just got back on the interstate. I'm heading toward Indianapolis, but I might not stop in Indianapolis. I may go on through to Kentucky. There's a chance I might go all the way back home to Nashville. I'm trying to put in a super long day on the bike to try to get ready for the trip to California, because there will be long days on that one too. So kind of playing it by ear, or I may go into Kentucky somewhere and find a state park and spend the night there. So I'm sure you've noticed that Rose isn't with me on this trip. I don't know if you watched my introduction video. I talked about there that Rose and I were going to take some trips during the summer, multi-night trips, camping, setting up the tent, breaking down the tent the next morning, and driving out several hundred miles to the next city and doing that day after day for 3 days or 4 days we could. Well, I also said in that video that she's a teenager. She's got a boyfriend. She has friends. She's got a social. And if we didn't get some trips in, I didn't think she's going to be able to go with me to California. We also got to find out, does she really want to do that day after day after day? It wears your butt out. That's what this trip was this week for me. I left a little bit apprehensive, a little bit concerned about it. But now that I've done it, I feel much more confident about the trip, and I'm ready to go. But Rose doesn't have the years of experience that I have of riding bikes to know, does she really want to do that for an entire month? Well, summer has come and gone, and she didn't take any multi-night trips with me. She only took one overnight with me to Maria Springs. Well, she's back at school now. That's why she didn't come this week with me. And I'm taking my entire 4 weeks off next summer for the trip out to the West Coast. So I won't have any days beforehand to take some 3 or 4 day trips with her in the spring. So our window has closed on us. There's one chance, possibly, and that's her fall break, and I believe that's in October of this year, and decide if this is something she wants to do or not, and get some of that much needed experience that we need. Fingers crossed we can make it out in fall break. If not, this may not be going with me next year to the West Coast, and that sucks. I'm going no matter what.
having her going with me was an added bonus. And kind of exciting. I really want it to happen, but I can't take that chance. It's too much of a risk. I'm on my way home now. We went through Chicago, and I passed through Indianapolis, and I'm now coming down toward Louisville, Kentucky. And I think I'm going to make it all the way into Nashville. Just take a 550-mile trip today and get a long ride in the saddle. My shoulder's killing me, my butt's killing me, but that's what it's going to take to get out to California. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's be safe. Let's have fun, and let's get home. So let's talk about the trailer for a little while. This is my first long trip. I've taken like a 200-mile trip to North Carolina with it. Ended up accidentally on the tail of the dragon. Not what I wanted to do, but we did it. But this has been a long trip. Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Wisconsin, back into Illinois, now into Indiana, back into Kentucky, and back into Tennessee. Long, multi-night trip. Interstate, back roads, country roads, a little bit of gravel roads back to the campgrounds, and some grass to get back to the campsite itself. The trailer has tracked right behind me in a straight line. I haven't had any wobbles or fishtailing. I've paid attention to my packing of the trailer. You need to pack most of your weight across the axle itself, and I believe, I may not be right on this, I believe it's like 70% toward the front and 30% toward the back. That way your weight is on the tongue and on the tail of the bike itself. If you put too much weight in the back of the trailer, it starts to give you the fishtailing, which could wash you out, flip you around, and just wreck you. I haven't had any problems at all. I have noticed the softness, the sponginess in the suspension. So I think I'm going to look into getting some rear shocks. They're a little bit taller, a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch taller than the ones I have now, maybe a little bit stiffer. This trip was a testing ground for lots of things, and the trailer, riding, suspension, bike was a big part of it, and it's really worked out well. I'm very happy with the way the trailer's tracked behind the bike. There's my review on the trailer. It's been a great trip, really safe. I'm so thankful that it's been a safe trip. I haven't had a drop of rain. First time solo motoing that far, and I enjoyed it. And those evenings of just sitting in the chair, watching a downloaded movie, and just relaxing, listening to the crickets and the frogs in a tent, and then laying down, having a good night's rest, hop up the next morning, take off, do it again. I've enjoyed it. I'm really excited about the California trip, and I can't wait to do it. The trip is still about 10 months out, so it's going to be a long wait, and I'm anxious. I'm ready to go. I'm about to cross over the Tennessee state line, almost home. That's 575 miles today. That's the longest I've ever driven in one day.
Well, I'm thankfully and safely home. A little over 575 miles today. Rough on the shoulder, but everything else was good. A safe trip, thankfully, safe trip the whole way. The whole trip was a little over almost 1,400 miles on all my little excursions in and out. Touched 6 states 9 times. I touched Kentucky, Tennessee, and Illinois twice each. It was fun. I had a good time, and the trailer and the bike did great. Putting the tent up, tearing it down every day went just fine, so I'm ready. Let's go to California.
I may be poor, but I'm rich on the road across America.